Hi, welcome to episode 23 of Talk About the Passion. My name is Christian Campagna, and today's episode is called Restless and Wild, named after the record by the heavy metal band Accept. My guest today is Scott Helland. Scott is a lifer in the music world, getting his start in music as a young teenager in Western Mass, forming the bands Deep Wound and the Outpatients. I named the song after the Accept album, as Scott tells this great story about being in Jay Mascis's bedroom as young kids, and Jay playing this Accept record for him. And it's a crazy scenario to think about to me, just this random moment between a couple of teenage friends listening to that Accept record that opens with the song Fast as a Shark, and then playing the music they did in Deep Wound. So it all kind of starts to make a little more sense, because 1982, I think, that was the fastest metal you were going to hear. And so I love thinking about those two kids listening to that early on and just having their minds blown. I won't get too much into the episode, as we cover quite a bit, and Scott was a great guest. I thought we had met briefly at that XXX fanzine release thing a few months ago, but I'm not 100% sure, and but anyway, Scott was going to be in Western Mass this past weekend, so we needed a place to do it, and I booked a hotel room, and I ended up making like a vacation day out of it, and Scott was kind enough to come by for a couple hours and hang out, and we had a great time. He's a pretty intense guy. He's got a intense energy about him, but in a good positive way, as you'll hear in the episode. And if you've never heard his early hardcore bands, Deep Wound and Outpatients, I highly recommend you check both of them out. They're pretty, to me, both integral bands to just the Northeast hardcore world. And the song "Backwards Explosion" by the Outpatients is one of my favorites. So track that down. It's a pretty awesome song. But everything by those guys, Outpatients and Deep Wound, is pretty intense and top quality stuff. So anyway, Scott also talks about some of the other music he's played on through the years, and as well as some of his current projects, Frenchie and the Punk, and Guitar Me of One. He has a website, scotthelland.com, and it's always updated with new dates, and as you'll see on there, if you take a look at it, he's always playing music somewhere. So if you're around and you want to check him out, there's plenty of dates there, and yeah, like I said, it's always up to date. And he's got a store on there where you can buy his music, so definitely check that out. It's scotthelland.com. And a couple more things before I get started. I'm on social media. If you search for Talk About the Passion podcast, you should be able to find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Same goes for wherever you like to listen to podcasts. You can find me there and subscribe if you like what you hear, and then you won't miss any new episodes. And if you want, you can give me a review on iTunes. It always helps to see what people think. And you don't have to write anything, but if you have a second, give it a grade. And I'm also on Spotify now. Search for Talk About the Passion podcast, and make sure you add podcast unless you love that R.E.M. song. I know I named my podcast after that song, but it's certainly not my favorite song of theirs. Also, if you or someone you love, you or someone you know would like to be on this podcast, please send me a message at the, I have an email, it's talkaboutthep@gmail.com, and just talk about the letter P, not P-E-E or P-E-A, and we can set something up. Anyway, here's episode 23 with Scott Helland, and thanks for listening. All right, so I'm here with Scott Helland. We're here in South Deerfield, Massachusetts. And did you grow up around here, near here?
I did. I grew up about a half hour south in Westfield, Massachusetts. and that's or some people call it Wastefield, Massachusetts. That was the nickname back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was born in Illinois, in central or southern Illinois. And my parents were teachers. And let's see, we moved to Missouri, then we moved to Maine. Then when I was about 4 or 5, we moved to Westfield.
Oh, nice.
And my dad was the high school teacher there. And yeah, so I guess I lived there to about 88 or so. But yeah, Wastefield.
Yeah,
It's kind of a painful town.
Yeah. And how old were you when you got there?
When I moved to Westfield,
Yeah.
I think I was probably 4 or 5. And 4 or 5, I'd say.
Yeah.
Something like that. That's where I went to high school. So it's like, I think that's called your formative years.
Yeah.
That's where I discovered music
Yeah.
and everything. Yeah.
So how did you get into music in Westfield?
Well, let's see. My parents were totally into jazz. They used to take me to jazz concerts.
Oh, really?
To see like Count Basie.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Duke Ellington Orchestra. I think he was already dead by then. But
Yeah.
maybe his band was still
Right.
playing.
Yeah.
And like Maynard Ferguson and all those cool, actually some really cool jazz stuff. Some cool guitar players. And Jerry Mulligan was like a sax player. All this
West
cool
Coast
jazz
guy,
stuff. Yeah. And so they had that stuff going on in the house all the time. They're into this organ music, E-Power Biggs, kind of weird, interesting stuff.
Nice.
He would bring kind of freaky records home from the library. They were totally like not kind of artsy parents in a way. They're both teachers. My mom was like a librarian. My dad was a Spanish teacher and an art teacher, but mostly Spanish when I was in high school. And art and museums and all that kind of stuff took me to weird art shows, which is it was totally cool.
Yeah.
And then I discovered punk rock, and everything changed.
Yeah.
I was actually. I remember I think it was in the car with my dad or mom or I think so. Anyways, left of the dial. I was going around and I heard what's that song? I heard. Do you remember Rock and Roll Radio by the Ramones? And I was like, oh my God, because before that, I heard whatever's on the radio. Oh,
Styx,
Tom Petty.
Foreigner.
Styx, Foreigner, right. Tom Petty was kind of cool. Okay, Bad Company, whatever, all right. It was just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But when I heard that Ramones, that was the thing that was like, holy shit, what is that?
Yeah.
I had never heard anything like it. Now you kind of listen to it, it's kind of like 50s almost pop.
Right? Yeah.
Do.
I know, right?
It's really weird.
Yeah.
But it sounded heavy and kind of like really different. Rock and roll radio.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything like it that I had heard, it seemed. So I was just like, oh my God, I got to find this, And I had my parents drive me to a record store, and I couldn't find that record, but I got Rocket to Russia. That was the first record I ever bought, Rocket to Russia. And that I was just like, oh my God. The same thing every kid who gets into music and is completely obsessed, like I am, like you probably were.
Yeah.
Looking at all the cartoons on that Rocket to Russia record.
The artwork.
The artwork, So that was kind of cool because, having parents that were into the art thing. I was like, well, look at the cool artwork on here. It's kind of fun. It's like kind of cartoony, that John Holmstrom. It's kind of like, oh, art and the music and punk. And like, I don't have to like Glenn Miller.
Right.
This is kind of cool. This is more my speed,
Like
the punk rock and there's art. And I was into drawing and stuff
Nice.
too. So the Ramones, as soon as I saw that, I think I was 12.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is what I want to do. I want to do this for the rest of my life.
And as jazz people, were they supportive of that, or did that sound like,
I think they were moderately supportive. Yeah, they were okay. I remember my dad went to see a show with Deep Wound, one of the bands I had. Yeah. And he looked a little bewildered. He looked a little like, okay.
Yeah.
And when we would rehearse, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. When we rehearsed in the basement, they'd be like, they'd leave the house. Like, we're going to go out and do some errands and stuff. Because they're just like blasting, So the punk rock thing super took over. My room went from like posters of, I don't know, the $6 Million Man and Trains to Dee Dee Ramone and the Sex Pistols. And then later like Venom and stuff.
Did you were you playing an instrument at that point?
No. At that point, no. I had an older brother, my brother Viz.
Yeah.
He was playing guitar, and he had before kind of turned me on to like the Beatles and check out the White Album and Sabbath. He turned me on to, and what other kind of stuff? I think he brought in home like Made in Japan, Deep Purple.
Nice.
Like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
punk rock thing, realized like at first I was kind of like, punk rock rules. I don't want to listen to that shit. You know.
Yeah.
You know, punk rock is just as great. You know, whatever.
Right.
So, what was the question again?
When you started playing music.
Oh yeah, when I started playing music, yeah. So he played guitar, but as soon as I heard the Ramones, I was just like, wait, I want to play music. So I borrowed a bass from somebody, this junk kind of bass. I actually carved the Ramones in it.
Yeah.
When I gave it back to him, he's like, thanks a lot, you know.
Right.
But yeah, so I just started kind of playing. The first riff I learned was Blitzkrieg Bop.
Oh, nice.
And then it was Smoke on the Water.
Oh, nice.
So, you know, true punk rock. And then I just kind of went from there. And then in high school, I was basically the only kid with like Ramones or Black Flag scratched in my shoes or written on my pants.
Right.
And then I met Lou Barlow.
Okay.
Who was a bass player at Dinosaur Jr., not then.
Right.
And he was like the only other kid that seemed to be into punk rock and stuff.
Yeah.
So we hit it off. Basically, we would sit at the cafeteria table, and like the jocks would call us art fags.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
because anyone who draws in there isn't into hang out in
Right.
the smoking area,
Yeah.
which is probably what killed classic rock for me a little bit. It was those kind of kids. You know, I some of the stuff was cool, but they kind of wrecked it. And then as soon as I found punk rock and Black Flag, I've said it before, like wearing a Black Flag pin was like armor. I was like, fuck you, you know. It felt, especially being a short kid in school, just felt like
yeah.
So
were you and Lou the only two sort of punk kids in the
school? There might have been a few, but they might have been more like, we like punk, you know, like Duran Duran and stuff. Like, okay, this is a little different, but it's cool, whatever.
Right. And what year was this?
This was, when did I meet Lou? Probably 81, 81, 82, something like that, in Westfield High. Mm-hmm. So we hit it out, and he played guitar, and I played bass, so I'd go over to his house. Mm-hmm. My dad would drive me over there or something, and we just kind of work on riffs and stuff. Mm-hmm. And we got a couple like riff ideas together, and we're like, all right, let's start a band. So we put out flyers, and my dad drove me up to Amherst, which is not far from around here. Yeah. And flyers that said, looking for a drummer who could play super fast beats like Discharge, Antipasti, whatever kind of, Minor Threat, that kind of stuff. And Jay Mascis answered the ad.
Oh, nice.
And he was a high school kid.
Right.
And I can't even remember. When I think about it, he answered the ad. How do you even do that back then? There's no cell phones, no computer. Maybe call. Yeah, that's probably was. Yeah,
I did that years ago. I remember I had like my mother's phone. My mother would say, "Oh, some guy called. He said you had an ad for a bit."
That's great.
So you guys were getting into the hardcore stuff now, like
totally. Yeah. So we went over. My dad drove me over to Lou and myself over to Jay's house. Mm-hmm. And I remember going there, and like his parents were super nice. Hi, his mom, and I'd go back into Jay's room, and Jay's room was like a mess. There was shit everywhere. There were like clothes all over the floors, all over the floor. I was like, wow, what is this? Okay, and he's like, what's up? Just lying on his bed. That's kind of what you would think from Jay Mascis. You want to check out a record? Okay. And he would turn me on to some different punk rock records. But one time I remember he played this Accept record, Restless and Wild, which is amazing record. To this day, I still feel like, yes. Yeah. But he put it on like the first like 15 seconds. I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. And then he take it off. Right. Then he put on another record for like 15 seconds. Another record. I'm like, yeah, give it. That's what's really keep up. Okay.
So the attention span wasn't there for him.
Then basically, and then like after like an hour and a half of that, we go into his basement, and then the three of us would just kind of work on riffs. And
nice.
Deep Wound was born. Yeah. And it took us a little while to find a singer. And Jay's friend Charlie became the singer. Yeah. So we just kind of rocked out in the basement and started booking shows.
Yeah. And were you guys going to they had hardcore shows out here, but were you traveling to Boston too?
There wasn't actually. We played the first, I think one of the first hardcore shows in Western Mass. I mean, there was some other like punk rock kind of stuff that was like kind of older guys. I mean, we were like 15, 16. I think I was 14 when I started in Deep Wound, 14, 15. Mm-hmm. But they were kind of older guys, so it was sort of a different thing. Yeah. I think they're called the Vandals. They're really good too. Yeah. Not the California Vandals, but a different one. The first show we played was at the Greenfield Grange Hall, which is close to here too. It's like 20 minutes up the road. So this is like ground zero for Western Mass punk rock.
Do you remember who else was on that show?
There was a Western Mass band called Brain Injured Unit.
Okay.
With Todd Cody. I think Gray Matter was on it. I don't know if that's the one. No, Crucifix wasn't on that show.
Yeah.
I should remember this, because that was like the first big deal. I had started the Outpatients too around that time. Deep Wound might have played another like couple small shows around town, but that was like the first big hardcore show, or at least that was the first hardcore show where I did both bands.
Right.
Because I had Deep Wound for a little while, and then my brother had a metalish kind of band. It was like really like early pre speed metal. Well, I don't know if it was really pre speed metal. Kind of was.
Yeah. Kind of like that era.
Yeah, like 1980, and they're called Mace.
Yeah.
And they did like Motorhead covers
Nice.
at like local parties, and people were like, "Don't you guys know any Doors?" Like, no, this one's called Dead Men Tell No Tales. What? Okay.
Right.
Bewildered Doors fans. Yeah. So, I lost my train of thought.
We were talking about like just the shows out here, and then you guys played the first.
Oh yeah.
Western
Sorry.
Mass. No, that's fine. Man.
It's good that you can keep me in line because what?
Yeah, my brain does that.
Yeah. Yeah, so the scene was pretty cool and it was fun. I played in both bands for a while.
Yeah.
I'd do an Outpatient set, then we'd do a Deep Wound set.
Nice.
And some great bands came out here. I think SSD played out here. I know Negative FX, I think, did a show out here. I might be mixing up some of those. Crucifix came out and played, and that was great. Yeah. They were amazing.
Yeah.
Husker Du played in East Hampton. We opened that show.
Nice.
There's a band called Borscht from New York. Kind of, a New York City kind of band, or Jersey band. Adrenaline OD. We played with those guys a bunch of times. We would go down and play, and Outpatients kind of took off a little bit more quick, or I don't know. Deep Wound, we would play some shows, and then we wouldn't. And then I think maybe the Outpatients started taking off, and it was a band with my brother, so I guess we kind of had that little brother. Yeah. Right. Also during that time, like a month after we played the first Outpatient show, my dad died. So it was like a total gut punch. Like the whole family was just cooked. We were just completely obliterated, basically.
Yeah.
And I was 15. It was 1983. And we played that show, and like a month later in March, he had a headache. Yeah. And headache for a couple of days. I think I was at school. Yeah. And my brother took him to the hospital, and like within an hour, he was in a coma. Oh, wow. And then, this is one of those intense things. You're 15, like, holy shit. I remember going to the hospital and like seeing him in the tubes and like, whoa, this is like insane. My mom would be upset and crying. Like, okay, what's going on here? Yeah. And, I remember things, ridiculous things. It sounds kind of weird, but like he would have these tubes and bags, and I think one of them was like for urine. Yeah. And I remember thinking it never filled up. I know that sounds awful, but it was like one of those weird things when you're a kid. Like, I was thinking, this is not good.
Stayed with you.
Yeah, that stayed with me. Yeah. And then my aunt flew out. I'm like, oh boy, this is not looking so good. And he passed away. And I'm like, so thank God for hardcore, because my brother and I like dove head first and just like would go nuts at shows to the point of hyperventilation at shows. Just,
Well, I remember I saw you guys, I think, with COC and Battalion of Saints, maybe. Paradise.
Yep, COC and Battalion of Saints. Yep.
And maybe did you guys ever play that YWCA in Boston? Maybe.
I don't know if we played the YWCA. I know we played Chet's.
But I just remember thinking you guys were really real intense. Like like Black Flag music, like intensity. Like very.
It was from that basically. Yeah. And I mean, literally, and I think that's probably why I probably started being more intense or more busy with the Outpatients, just because it was that brotherhood kind of thing, and we had to stick together. And right. It was a weird time. We'd have to borrow my dad's car because my mom didn't really drive much. Well, we're going to a show. And I look back now, like, oh my God, when I leave my mom in the house, we're going to New York City to play some hardcore show. But, I mean, going to those shows, it was like...
It was a good way to escape.
It was a great way to escape. It was like a family, a community. You go. I mean, it kind of sounds cheesy, but it really was. We'd go into New York City and be kind of freaked out, but like, Rabies from Warzone was like really cool to us, and Jimmy from Murphy's Law and different bands, Mental Abuse, Sheer Terror, Paul was like super cool. It was like right off the bat, I was like, it felt really good. It's like, wow.
Yeah, you find your common people.
Yeah, you're bumblebees.
Yeah,
if we want to drop a blind melon, that just wrecked all hardcore cred right there. Interview's over. No. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Going back a little bit, do you remember recording with the first time you recorded? Was that with Deep Wound, or was that Outpatients?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think the Deep Wound record came out, or we recorded with them first. I recorded with them first. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And that was at Radio Beat in Boston with like Lou and Jimmy DeFore.
Yeah.
That was cool. We might have done some stuff at home, but that was like the first recording we did. And then later the Outpatients recorded there too, but those tapes were lost.
Oh, really?
We only had cassettes. So
man.
I know, it sucks. We were supposed to put out a 7-inch, but I don't know what happened with that. But so the Deep Wound record came out, and that's from that
session.
That session, yeah. That's the record with the slug, the ice cream cone.
Lou's anxiety song.
Yeah, which is basically taken. That picture was taken behind the hospital where my dad died, and the ice cream cone was like from Lou's refrigerator, and we just went around and behind the hospital and we found some slugs and we put them in there, and I held it up and Lou took the picture. That's it. Wow. You know,
nice.
So that's the cover story.
Nice. Yeah. And then you guys had a song or two on that Banzer Could Be God.
Oh yeah. I think wasn't Al Quint who did that? No, it was Gerard Cosloy.
Yep. And that had some great sort of underappreciated bands on it.
Well,
Sorry.
I think Moving Targets. Sorry.
Yep.
Salem 66 was kind of an interesting band.
Yeah.
Can't remember. Yeah, Sorry was really good.
Volcano Suns,
yep,
maybe?
Yep, Volcano Suns.
Yeah, so sort of all those outsider Boston bands. That
were
like either the straight big Boston hardcore bands were, and it wasn't necessarily all hardcore on that either. It was
like Salem 66 was a little bit more almost pre-indie rock or indie kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that was, I think Outpatients and Deep Wound had 2 songs each on it or something. Yeah. That was great. It was cool to be on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Gerard kind of started working with Jay and Lou, and that's when the Dinosaur Jr. thing happened. Like they kind of it was just born out of Deep Wound.
Yeah.
And I started going more with the Outpatients. They're kind of getting into more of the almost jangly kind of young-ish kind of thing, and I just I still wanted to rage, you know.
Yeah.
And I still do. Well, for the most part, yeah. Yeah, I think, I just, again, the whole brotherhood thing and losing my dad, it just kind of made sense,
In the Outpatients, you guys had a metal, like when I remember early, it was just like really good, like fast hardcore, and then it got kind of metallic.
It got kind of metallic, We definitely went the metal route. I mean, it was like definitely early crossover. People you guys were like one of the early crossover bands, because we were just so into Motorhead. I mean, I worshipped Motorhead.
Right.
For a while, I always, say like when I discovered Motorhead, it was after, I don't know if it was after my dad died. Maybe it was before. Mm-hmm. And then after my dad passed, I used to think like Lemmy's my adopted father, when I was a kid, just because I would just listen to it and just like worship that stuff, I remember getting the Ace of Spades record and, putting on the headphones in the living room and putting them on and just like, whoa, this is amazing.
Nice.
So that really Venom. So we got into Venom, and Priest, and Deep Purple, Sabbath. My God, Rocket, so fast. There's some classic stuff. Yeah.
Did you guys do covers at all? Ever?
We did. Viz wanted to. We did a Pink Floyd cover. We did that. We whipped that out at a hardcore show, and people loved it. I think it was In the Flesh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And
That's a heavy song.
Yeah, it is pretty heavy.
Yeah.
We did Purple Haze once.
Oh, nice.
We did Ace of Spades a bunch of times. I would sing. That was cool.
Nice.
We did Band in D.C.
Yeah.
Bad Brains.
Yeah.
Amazing band.
Yeah.
I think that was probably it. We just do one cover here, every once in a while. But we mostly focused on our stuff. But we definitely, we started getting better at our instruments because we were just playing constantly.
Yeah.
So we just kind of started. The riffs got a little bit more intense, so it kind of automatically kind of sounded a little bit metal. It's just like a natural progression. The hair started to grow longer, and and I still loved hardcore, but the metal thing definitely took over.
I think that's what happened with a lot of those bands, and people sort of lose sight of that, where they just think this band's sold out, but it's natural. Like you're gonna, if you play as much as a lot of these bands did, you're gonna get better at your instrument, and you're gonna want to write just
better. I don't know. Some
Yeah.
people just want to
How We Rock.
expand.
Look at the How We Rock, you know,
yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and plus, you know, that early speed metal thing
Yeah.
with like Metallica and Kill 'Em All and
Yeah.
Venom and even, you know, Motorhead stuff. It was so like mixing, like Metallica seemed like, okay, it's like Discharge mixed with Judas Priest.
Yeah.
In a way, so it was like, whoa, that's amazing. It was
I
like
know,
a
right?
step beyond, you know,
Yeah.
just seemed like a cool thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yep.
it kind of started to feel like it was okay to mix both of those
Yeah.
genres too, because for a while that was a taboo thing. To
Oh,
not,
totally. Yeah. I met-
metalheads at shows, and
Yep.
if you had long hair, you.
I remember at a Rock Hotel show that we played at, I think we opened for GBH.
Oh wow.
Rock Hotel in like 84, 85.
Mm-hmm.
I remember going outside and seeing some skinhead guy pulling a long-haired kid down the street by his hair, and him just being like, I'm like, holy shit. I'm going back inside. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
There used to just be like walloping fights out
yeah.
of some of those things. Like, oh man. And we always loved like metal and hardcore and like Viz, my brother, while we were into like Black Flag, he was like listening to Frank Zappa
Oh yeah.
and Hendrix still and
yeah.
stuff. So we had a pretty eclectic taste. We
Yeah.
weren't like hardcore only.
Right.
I went through a phase of that for a little bit.
Yeah. And I think that's the bands that sort of stand out for me, at least, are the ones that
Had
pull influences from other places, but it doesn't necessarily have to sound like Frank Zappa.
right,
But,
yeah.
But someone might take his aesthetic and just intensity and put it into something heavy. you know,
Totally.
you know.
Yeah.
So you definitely hear that. And
You could say Frank Zappa is totally punk rock in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
You know,
Oh,
it's
of
like Johnny
course.
Cash.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like totally punk rock.
yeah, definitely. Did you guys do much touring at all?
Deep Wound didn't do that much. Deep Wound played in Boston and Western Mass. But
Yeah.
Outpatients, we played in Boston a lot. We played in Connecticut.
Yeah.
At the Anthrax Club. I think I mentioned that before. We played in New York City, CB's a bunch of times. We played Syracuse. Later on, we went down to South America, but that was like in the 90s.
Oh, wow.
We were definitely full-blown like
Yeah.
thrash metal.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, hardcore thrash metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one of your records.
Free Association
Maybe.
with the skull.
No, it has like a close up of someone's face, I think.
Oh, yeah. That's a
I like
Test of
that
Time.
record. Yeah, I like that record a lot.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Thanks.
It's like
It's
a
cool.
early like metalish kind of
Yeah. There's some
slap bass on there too.
They had a little
yeah.
slap bass. I know. Yeah.
But I was into that.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That's cool. Yeah, I always thought that was a pretty good record. Don Fury engineered it.
Oh,
he's
he
like
did? Oh, nice.
he's like Mr. Hardcore.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think he's worked with Madball, and
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
he's done AF and all
Yep.
sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So he produced that record. We recorded that in New York City, and that's
Nice.
kind of what got us down to South America.
Yeah.
An agent guy saw us and brought us down there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, and so that was a good experience then.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah. That was probably we kind of figured out because we did a record earlier. That was like Test of Time was 92. We did this record in 88 called Free Association, and it's like got this blue and white cover with a skull.
Yeah.
And it's a little. I think we were kind of. I look back and we were definitely trying to find our footing because there's like a couple hardcore songs and a couple songs sounded like Judas Priest, but not like really heavy Priest, middle peer, you know.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, yeah. So I don't know if that worked as well as the Test of Time record, but
Was being in a band with your brother? Was that ever any friction there?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
There's
hear
a
stories
couple walloping fights before a show. I remember, and of course those shows were like the best shows. We were just so like, you fucking motherfucker, you know.
Yeah.
But not too bad. I mean, I think when we were kids we got along worse, but then when we got together and started playing music, and especially after my dad died, we were pretty cool.
Right.
But it was only into our 20s when we moved to New York City where it got a little heated again. Because being in a band can be tough.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
All the the more you play in bands and play music, the more like the business part is just so mind-boggling.
Yeah, it gets to.
And I feel like I found that out more and more since I've been doing music. I've been doing music the whole time, so more later as you get older. Maybe not as much back then, but there was, it was tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys, are you close with your brother?
Yeah, I am now, but we didn't talk for about 14 years.
Oh,
Didn't talk or see each other.
Yeah.
After, because when we were in the city, we went through a couple different drummers. One guy just split because he got married and had kids and couldn't, hack the whole thing.
Right.
Which is okay, but I think at that time we were probably like, oh man, give me a break.
Right.
Come on, stay true to, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, in New York City, we moved there, and actually we moved there because I joined a band called School of Violence. Because their bass player got hit by a cab in the city. He's okay, but he broke his leg or something. And so I joined School of Violence. I did a tour with them.
Yeah.
I remember coming back like on a Friday and said, "Hey, Mom, I'm moving to New York City." She's like, "What? Okay, I'm joining School of Violence." "What about college?" "Well, this is my college."
This is the school.
This is the school now, right? "But you're not violent." "Well, no, but the band's music is, and it's great."
What kind of stuff were
they? School of Violence was pretty kind of metalcore, kind of crossover.
Yeah.
The guitarist Stag was definitely into like, heavier, Motorhead, I guess if there must have been a prerequisite. You're not into Motorhead, leave.
I know, right?
He's probably into like Dave Mustaine riffs and kind of stuff too. But he kind of came from the hardcore scene. He had a huge mohawk and was, went to all the shows and was into the Exploited probably and stuff.
Nice.
They're a good band. Carl Agell was the singer, and Carl went on to do the vocals on the Blind COC record.
Oh, really?
He actually left our band, School of Violence, to go do that record with them.
I love that record.
Yeah, it's a great record.
Yeah.
And he was in New York. He was in a Connecticut hardcore band called. Do I even know? I don't know, but you have to look it up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was School of Violence, and then the drummer of that band went off to join a band called Warrior Soul.
Oh yeah,
remember they were kind of like early '90s. Actually, first few records were pretty good. I thought
definitely.
Pretty interesting, kind of political, kind of hard rock, but.
Were they related to the Necros somehow, or
I think the singer Corey Clark was from that Detroit area.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Meatmen.
Oh, yeah, right.
Corey Clark's Dude Ranch.
Really? Oh, yeah, because I think they had an issue with the singer from I think he was kind of, didn't get along with Tesco V's Police.
Yeah, he had that thing at the beginning of the Meatmen album.
Yeah. But Warrior Soul was pretty good.
Yeah, definitely.
And that guy was a great drummer too, but he was murdered in England.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, wow. A lot of people from School of Violence had met demise either through liver damage from alcohol and passing away that way, or being murdered, or.
Jeez. So, what did you do after School of Violence?
School of Violence. After School of Violence, I joined a cult, and I think I went back to playing with the Outpatients.
Yeah.
We just found another drummer and started doing shows again, and that's when we went down to Argentina a couple times. Second time we brought AF with us.
Oh, did you?
The second time,
wow. Nice.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I had a studio in the music building, which is on 48th and 8th Avenue in the city, and I rented it out to all sorts of bands, like Agnostic Front rehearsed there, Sick of It All rehearsed there. They filmed a video there, the video for Step Down.
Oh, yeah,
that one where they're doing all the mosh pit. Who else rehearsed there? Madball. Bunch of other bands.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool. Had that for a while. Brutal Truth rehearsed there.
Yeah.
I know there's a couple other bands.
Yeah.
That was cool. Hope I'm not mumbling too much.
No,
I feel like I'm mumbling a little bit.
No, not at all.
Sorry.
No. And you were in, was it Dark Side?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot about that too. Thank you. Yes. Dark Side I did after Outpatient split up in 1995. I started playing around with the guys and maybe 97, 98.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of recording, and we played around New York City and did some stuff upstate with All Out War and shows like that.
Nice.
They were cool. They had some almost grindcore kind of stuff going on in there.
Nice.
And I was always a bass player. Around that time, I switched from playing bass to acoustic guitar and just started experimenting.
Yeah.
I figured after all this, 15 years of doing like raging punk rock and metal and stuff, I got an acoustic guitar and started experimenting with different styles, like Celtic styles and medieval, listen to medieval type music and figuring some of that out, because it all just, you take this distortion box off the guitar and some of that metal sounds like medieval music, very classical based, even though some of it's blues based too, but
and that's so you did after that, you kind of mellowed out, you're saying. So
yeah, I guess so.
Just
musically, right. Maybe I did mellow out for a little while. Just to experiment with different styles and going from bass to guitar was a whole different, sonically and the approach of playing, and I kind of had to relearn stuff.
Right.
And I did I wrote all sorts of like singer-songwriter stuff. and tried all that out just to try to find like a voice, because I was a bass player. I don't really I feel like I was just, playing kind of other people's songs, even though I wrote a lot of riffs and stuff. But so it's just kind of like relearning how to do everything again. So it took a couple records to kind of find that. I did a bunch of weird records. Like I did this record called Hellbox Mood Rings. Yeah. And it had, I took answering machine tapes of people leaving me messages and put music to them.
Oh, wow.
All sorts of weird stuff. So like my mom calling, ex-girlfriend saying, "Where are you?" And I put out to music. So it was kind of a twisted record. That was the first solo record I did. Yeah. Then I did some ambient stuff. I think you said you heard. Yeah. That was back in like 96, 98, 2000, somewhere in there.
How did you get into that kind of stuff?
Well, I've always been into checking out different styles of music. I think Brian Eno. I was always really into The Cure.
Oh, okay, cool.
I always thought they were great. Yeah. That Wish record, Disintegration.
Love that record,
So, and I loved the guitar styles and the just the way the textures of guitars and bass and keyboards all went together. I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah. And it's I also loved like how Maiden and Priest put the two guitars together, and I look at it as like The Cure would put all this stuff together, just like the layers and textures.
Layered on top of each other.
Yeah. So that's probably what got me into the experimenting with more melodic stuff, I should say, instead of the raw.
And playing live with stuff like that, was that challenging?
It was. From like
loud music.
Totally.
Because you're kind of the main focus of the audience.
It's totally different.
So it's a different approach.
Yeah. I remember the first time I did a show, I was doing an open mic, and I tried some, folky kind of songs. Right. And I just remember being like, holy shit. I thought I was ruined because I thought I couldn't play anymore. Because when you're in a band, just like, 4 or 5 guys or whatever, a trio, you're on stage just like blasting power, and you get up there with an acoustic guitar, and you hear everything. You're naked up there. And it's like, holy shit. And so that took a while to get used to. I used to go out and do open mics in New York City 7 days a week. I really worked on it like crazy. Then I did a record like that. And I think after the record, I realized, I don't know if this isn't really my thing,
Once you finally got it.
I was like, Well, it was like kind of like Kevin Salem, Freddie Johnson, John Hyatt kind of stuff. Yeah. Kind of almost like,
John Hyatt's great.
Yeah, John Hyatt is great. Yeah. But I don't know. It wasn't really my thing. Yeah. And so then I went back to doing instrumental music. Yeah. And that was, closer to what made sense to me, because it was more about riffs instead of strumming chords and singing. I'm all about the riff. Even if it's acoustic guitar, now it's about the riff, and the riff and layering those guitars, that Priest and The Cure and whatever that just stuck in my head.
Yeah, and you can mix that. Nice. And did you do live stuff with that kind of stuff?
I did, yeah. At first, I used to write for 2 parts on the guitar, and I would play with a CD player or a DAT player.
Oh, nice.
And then I switched to MP3 player, and then I got a loop pedal way back like 12 years ago, and then started doing it all live with a loop pedal.
Yeah, I had one of those loop station ones.
Yeah. Oh, you play guitar?
I do, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I haven't in a while, but yeah.
Who you...
I had a band called Presley for a while. That was
Presley?
Yeah.
As in Elvis?
Yeah.
No, as in... Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was like indie rock kind of stuff, and but we got into
Steve Earle? No.
It was... I think initially it was more influenced by like Superchunk and Sebadoh and that kind of stuff, but then we kind of mixed it with some more heavier stuff, and then we kind of mixed it with sort of the aesthetic of the Grateful Dead, and we improvised a lot.
Oh,
so
cool. Huh.
We would go on stage and do 2 songs and sort of segue them together and that kind of stuff. So
that's cool.
But a lot of effects and layering.
Yeah.
So we were into that, making audiences leave.
Right. Making audiences leave since 1990, whatever.
But so it was it got to a point where it was just sort of, a few times we would just be like, let's just not do any songs tonight. We would just improvise. And
that's cool.
Sometimes it's, if people in the audience are maybe not in the perfect shape in their mind, they might enjoy something like that.
Right.
But for the most part, I think it kind of angers people.
Right.
Like, this is noise.
There's a saying like, what is it like? art should, comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So that kind of probably fits with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think that just the growing up hardcore, that aesthetic of just wanting to stand out or just sort of do your own thing was sort of what we wanted to do, and didn't really fit in with like metal bands or indie rock bands. So, it's...
Yeah, totally. I totally get that. I kind of feel like the bands I've been in have, the Outpatients were kind of almost too punk for the metal crowd and too metal for the punk crowd sometimes. Sometimes it would work, but I guess it was totally that crossover thing.
Yeah.
For a time, it was kind of like people were like, what? It was weird.
As like an Iron Maiden fan, as like a teenager and like a Rush fan, I remember seeing the Outpatients and like just going, these guys are like they're too good musicians to be playing like hard, because it did have that.
Totally.
You guys definitely had that. And you guys are always a trio, for the most part?
Yeah, we were a trio, except for in New York City, I think we added a guitar. Yeah, we added a guitar player. Yeah. This a friend of mine, Mark from Long Island.
Okay.
We added him, and I think that was maybe around the Test of Time era.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, and that was kind of cool, the twin guitar. Yeah.
And then, so after the ambient stuff, what?
After the ambient stuff, I did write more kind of acoustic, gypsy, medievally kind of weird mixture of stuff.
Nice.
Again, it was all about the riffs. I did that, a couple records like that for a while.
Yeah.
And then I was playing on stage somewhere in Connecticut, and my girlfriend, who's still with me, jumped on stage and started playing tambourine, because there's tambourine there. She had some wine. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of really cool. She had some interesting accents and stuff. I'm like, we should start a duo.
Yeah.
So after that, we started this duo called Frenchie and the Punk. Mm-hmm. She's Frenchy. She was born in France. I'm the punk, because I used to play punk rock. It works. And then we just started it started from my instrumental music, and she brought in some of her, she started writing in French. It was kind of like French cabaret.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's very folk punk kind of thing. And we've been doing that for 14 years, since 2005.
Nice.
And that took off. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
We've played all over the US and Europe, and we play in like the cabaret, folk punk, steampunk kind of scenes and stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really been amazing. It's some of the we play in some scenes that are a little bit not what I'm used to. Like people, there's a lot of geek culture in the steampunk kind of thing, and I don't really know a lot about that.
Yeah.
But they're totally into the music,
and
they're a lot of people are very creative. Like that whole steampunk thing is all very artistic and gears and all sorts of stuff.
That's cool.
I'm just about the riff and the music,
Nice.
So.
And that's obviously working with your girlfriend is
it's great. I know it's kind of funny, because some people can't go on vacations with their partners, but she's super amazing, like cool. Just I don't know. Those are really lame words. Super amazing and cool. Okay, but we just work really well together, like musically and everything. I like the way she writes great lyrics and. Just very easy to get along with. Yeah. So when you're out on the road for a couple months, it's key to have someone that's just. We're both pretty low key, after a while, you just learn to not react to things. Just chill and just kind of take it easy. And life is short. You just got to have fun. I know that's a cliche too.
Yeah,
but that's one thing I always think about with like my dad. Like it was like, holy shit.
Right.
And man, life can be. I remember thinking like life is going to be tough sometimes, or like, man, he was only 58. Wow. Like, okay. So I gotta think about this here. I gotta like kind of make it count and go out and do stuff and just do what I want, which is play music, and fuck the rest of the stuff, jobs and stuff like that.
Right.
Just try to make it work. Doing art and music, that's all I do. That's all both of us do.
Yeah, and if you can get that stuff to sort of define who you are, and I think
it's definitely
awesome.
Tough to lead a creative life, and survive on like selling CDs and downloads and making art. We both do art kind of stuff. We bring that on the road with us, and we sell our wares and stuff. But it's definitely cool. But definitely, I think that the that thing with my dad dying had a major effect. Like, oh man, you better make it count.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I think of things like that as I get older. I'm 48 now.
Yeah.
And I'll think of things like that. Well, you know, that guy died at this age. That's, 10 more years.
You're like, that's next week, shit.
Yeah. So, but that's definitely, that's a great way to think. Just to, you never know what's going to happen. Like,
totally. Yeah.
The guy last week from that band, Caleb.
I know. Caleb.
Yeah, Caleb.
Yeah.
It's just sad stuff.
It's really sad. It's one of those things, like, it's perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, we can be, I can be negative and whatever all I want, but I try not to be.
Yeah.
But that you hear about stuff like that, and like, okay, we got nothing to complain about.
Yeah.
It's fucking beautiful today. We drove down from Providence. I drove up from New York. It's beautiful out.
Yeah.
I'm still like a kid. I listen to music in the car, crank it.
Yeah.
There's still music that like sends a chill down my spine.
That's good. You can still get that feeling, because I still get that from. That's one of the things I was going to bring up. So, because you said the FUs are playing out here tonight, which is pretty awesome. So that music, I can still listen to, the Kill for Christ album, and it still hits me like when I was like 14 when I heard that.
Isn't that great? It's a fucking awesome feeling.
I think forever. So and I think that's why all of us people sort of get along, because we understand that. And,
totally.
But everyone has that with,
I hope people have that, because I mean, it's an amazing thing. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes you should think, do you lose that if you're married with kids? But no, you don't. But some people, I almost feel like they do, right?
Yeah, there are friends I've had that just dropped out of,
like, I don't listen to that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
What, you're still what?
Right.
I just went to see Judas Priest the other night in Connecticut. Man, it was fucking amazing. It was so good. Like,
his
holy
voice
shit.
is still there.
It was great.
Yeah,
It was all, I had chills. I had fucking chills. Then Glenn Tipton came out. He has Parkinson's. And he came out and did the last few songs. And I feel like there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Old men, women's like, oh my god. It's like amazing. Like, your show is called Talk About the Passion. Holy shit! I mean, I have. We have just so much passion for music. I just love it. It is, it's like my everything. It's in your blood. Yeah. It's in my blood. Yeah. I mean, I saw Motorhead before Lemmy Pass. Of course, before Lemmy Pass. They brought him out, and he looked a little gray in Connecticut, like a few months before he passed. So I went to see the pre-show, and God, I saw Negative Approach a few months ago in Brooklyn. They were still amazing. Yeah, they were killing it.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really
good. The Proletariat a few months ago. And
and there's definitely some new great bands. Sometimes people say, "Oh, there's no good music."
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some pretty good bands out there. Al Quint always has pictures or has something from a show of a punk band on that, and that's where I get my information for new punk bands, because he always posts something. I never heard of him. Check it out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we did a few reunion shows with the band I had with him.
Oh, that's cool.
A few years ago.
I think I did see something about that. I don't know if I ever saw you guys play.
We played with Drop Dead and Fuck You, Pay Me.
Okay,
Cleveland band, and for Al's 55th. Birthday a few years ago.
He just told me at that show that we went to, the XXX fanzine book, that he said, "Okay, I want Deep Wound to play my 60th." I'm like, all right, I'm down with that. That we go.
Yeah, you've gone on stage a couple times now with Dinosaur Jr.
Yeah. We've been doing that like for the last few years. The first one reunion thing we did was opening for. They were opening for Sonic Youth in Northampton, Mass. And we did like Video Prick or something.
Nice. And Charlie too came on.
Charlie came on that show, But the last few years, Charlie hasn't been on it, so it's just been me, Lou, and Jay, and then Murph on drums. Yeah. And last year Dinosaur opened up for Jane's Addiction. Yeah. And I went out and did a song with them, which is great. Yeah. I did like a steampunk show in Detroit that weekend for like 500 kids, and then the next night I was playing for like 10,000 in front of.
That's amazing.
With Dinosaur Jr. playing a 3-minute or 2-minute Deep Wound song.
Where was that? In New York.
In Detroit.
Oh, actually, Detroit.
Yeah. Because we were on tour with French and Punk, and they happened to be on tour, and so it's kind of worked out.
Still in good.
Totally.
With Jay and Lou.
Friends with Jay and Lou,
Nice. Cool. So now like with all these books coming out, like the Triple X fanzine book and
it's a great
all
book.
these bands
Amazing.
sort of playing again. It's you feel like and I think people are like nostalgia's stupid, but I think it's not nostalgia. I think it's nice to kind of reminisce about some of the stuff. I think it is
too, yeah. I don't really think it's nostalgia either. Yeah. It's like, I think people, you just listen to stuff because nostalgia. No, not really. I mean, and I listen to like new stuff that some of these bands put out, and I like it. But as far as like playing the shows, I have been thinking about it lately. It would be fun to do a full Deep Wound set. It'd be really fun to do an outpatient set. Right. I don't know if that's possible, like, with time
scheduling and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I have a solo project too that I do besides Frenchie and the Punk.
Yeah.
So I keep busy with that.
And that's the Guitar
Oh,
Me.
yeah, the Guitar Me of One. Yeah.
So what is that stuff?
That's all instrumental music. It's all I do live looping. Mm-hmm. It's not really that much jamming. It's like the songs are it's pretty structured.
Yeah.
I lay down a loop on a loop pedal, and I have also riffs and stuff.
Yeah.
I play over that. It's all specific songs, very upbeat. It's pretty pounding, but it's still acoustic.
Nice.
I have like a weird hybrid acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And that again is, like I said, because anytime it's all about the riff, kind of,
Right.
Yeah, it's very riff based. There's a song on there called "The Ballad of Judas and Johnny," and there's a snippet of a Ramones riff and a snippet of a Priest riff.
Oh yeah, all right.
And the idea behind that song is kind of like supposedly like Johnny and Joey hated each other towards the end because Johnny was a real like conservative guy and Joey's like more progressive.
Right.
They just like sit in the van and not even talk. I thought of like Johnny being Joey's Judas, you betrayer. And then I thought about Priest, and I thought, I'll put it in a Priest. It just kind of worked out, It's kind of funny. Nice. Actually, that whole record, Never End the Rocket Century, is a mashup of two Ramones records.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So Rocket to Russia and End of the Century.
Yeah. Nice.
And so it's all kind of a, it's like that whole record's about that time when I got into music, which is like the Rocket Century. It's Rocket to Russia. That's the first record I bought. It's like it's what made me go, whoa! I want to be a musician. It's like it's like that creative time in music where it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
So it's like never end that creative spark.
What that felt like.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's a song on there called "Spark," the bloke from Stoke, which is about Lemmy.
Oh, nice.
Of course, I say about, but these are all instrumentals,
right.
And they don't sound anything like Motorhead.
But in
my brain it works.
Yeah. And you're wearing a Discharge shirt.
Yeah. And I do that's the artwork I did.
Oh, you did this? Oh,
the pen and ink kind of stuff.
Cool.
The last song is called Exene, Files Under Strange Black Twilight, and that's inspired by Exene from X.
Oh, awesome.
And they had a record called Under the Big Black Sun.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of
awesome, man.
Yeah. There's definitely a whole lot in there that a lot of people that probably
get the inside joke.
Yeah,
not joke.
Yeah. You're calling it a joke. It's not a joke, man. It's so right.
So that's cool. But yeah, I feel like not reliving old hardcore stuff, but I think those books and that kind of thing are documenting it, and for as we get old, our memories. So to have that Triple X fanzine book, look through it and go, oh, that was in 1985 in July. So it's kind of putting all the pieces together, I think, as at least for me.
I think,
and going, oh, I kind of forgot. Because I was thinking about the times I saw the Outpatients. I think maybe only once or twice, but I definitely remember with COC, I think.
COC, it's great. The book is amazing. It's great. I think it's really cool that people are doing that stuff. Like Drew Stone. Do you know Drew Stone out in New York City? I've been to a couple of his things. Like he did the all ages hardcore movie.
Yeah,
that was great. You know, I mean, I'm sure people have. I have an issue with this, or like someone like Stephen Blush did the American hardcore movie too.
Yeah.
That was cool. I mean, he probably left out some stuff. But I don't know.
Yeah, people are pissed that
people are pissed.
He ends it at 88 or whatever, and people are like, there's much more after that. And
how much can you?
Right.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's cool that that stuff is out there. Like I was saying, Drew Stone is doing like that New York Hardcore Chronicles.
Yeah.
It's
cool. I
cool.
love
He's doing
those little interviews.
Yeah, those are great, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's like cool. Like you doing this podcast is awesome because it's like it's great that you're interviewing like people from the scene. It's
I'm
like
trying to.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think it's like an awesome thing.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Awesome. And I guess the last thing, and this is a new thing I've been starting on this, at least with, I've been trying to branch out people that aren't necessarily in the hardcore scene too, but I haven't.
Maybe I can send some folks. Drew Stone would be a good interview, probably.
Yeah, I'd love to get him on
because he's so,
he's an interesting guy.
Interesting
I don't
guy,
know him, but I love that movie, and
Did you see the one? Who the fuck is that guy with Michael Alago?
I haven't seen that
He's
yet.
the guy who signed Metallica.
Yeah.
That's a good movie too. Yeah. It's really good. But it's cool that people, not let you finish your question, but it's cool that people are putting out the books and so, I mean, I guess so younger kids can see this stuff and read about it. Yeah. And, I mean, it was like a pretty important time in music, I think. For me, it's like, the people from the 60s have that 60s, the rebellion, and all that great music. The Beatles were fucking the Stones.
Yeah.
That's one of your favorite bands, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Janis Joplin, all that stuff was great. I mean, I don't necessarily listen to as much as that as I maybe used to when I was younger.
Yeah.
But it's classic. Bob Dylan is classic music, and with the early '80s, and the whole punk scene, man, it's like just as important. I feel like it's an important time in musical history. It's great, classic artists.
Yeah.
Whatever you think of Henry Rollins or any of these people, I think some great artists came out of there.
Yeah. And it's almost like when I was a teenager, I would look at pictures of books on the Beatles and the Stones and that stuff, and be like, wow, this must have been cool to be there. So, same thing. If there must be younger kids looking at these
totally
hardcore books and going, wow, look at that. Picture of Glenn Danzig, 22
like 22,
or whatever.
Henry Rollins, like at Haagen-Dazs, serving ice cream. Yeah. I mean, those are like, I don't know what to call them. Classic. I mean, they're it's they were doing something that hadn't been done before. The Minor Threat and the Bad Brains. Holy shit!
Yeah.
It's just they don't get as much credit as they deserve.
No, I know,
of course.
Right? Yeah.
But
that's cool.
Yeah. Mike Gitter. It's really good. It's great. He did that.
Yeah.
I know there probably are a lot of cynical people. Oh, you should be. There's nostalgia or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I don't care.
I don't care. It provides joy to people older people, younger people. It's great. Yeah. So we're all going to be in the ground at one point, so enjoy the stuff we can get it,
Right. The last question was, so we're trying to get a gauge of where people stand on the that Faith Void record. What side they like better?
My immediate thing is I went to the Void.
Yeah.
But, and I haven't heard that record in a little while. I remember liking both sides. I think I always lean towards the Void a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I always loved the artwork. That guy.
Yeah, with the cross.
Yeah.
Yeah, that weird.
I was always inspired by, all that kind of artwork and stuff. So I get probably learned toward musically and artistically for the artwork. Is that like the new version of Maiden and Priest?
Yeah, I know, right? I'm probably more of a Maiden guy.
Really? Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I like certain eras of both. Like when I got into Priest, I feel like I started at Screaming for Vengeance and kind of went forward, and then maybe stopped at Turbo. Which when I listen to it back now, I'm like, it's not as for the time. That's what
Totally
sounds like one of those later ZZ Top albums or something.
Totally,
the weird effects on it, but the songs were, there was some catchy songs on that record.
Totally.
But then when I went back and discovered like Unleashed in the East and all that
Hellbent for Leather,
stuff,
and
I was like, maybe I liked, because I thought Iron Maiden got kind of corny.
Yeah, it's hard.
He could get kind of Bruce,
Yeah, you mean like his vocals or just lyrics?
I think his lyrics and just
it's tough with metal sometimes. I mean, I love all that stuff too, but it's almost like movies that are like like these comic book movies. You have to like what's that movie? That huge movie was really good. The Black Panther.
Oh yeah.
I just saw that recently. It was really good, but you have to like kind of be in a certain frame. You have to realize that it's like from a comic book. It's not like with these people in costumes and stuff. So I kind of feel like that with some metal, like Maiden and Priest. They have these big demons and fire, but it's metal.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I want to see. That
Right,
I don't.
right.
That's I want to see the Harley. I want to see the metal and chains.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I know a few weeks ago I was going to like Target or something to get groceries, and I was wearing an Iron Maiden shirt, and I just remember thinking, you got a 48-year-old guy wearing an Iron Maiden shirt. I wonder if there's like
awesome
people in there going, this weird dude. But I'm not going to grow out of that. It's who I am and what I
Totally. At that pre-show last week, there was like guys way older than me, just like just like, and I think it's great to see that. It's like endearing. It's just like, man, who knows if they're like working all week and they have maybe a hard life or maybe not, but they're just letting it out at the show, and it's great. It's great to see that. It's like awesome.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, then you're out like, just being pissed off
and angry. So that's a good way to release.
But you have too much of that in the world as it is.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And it's nice to see some of my older friends now with kids are bringing their kids to see Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and stuff like that. So
that's cool.
It is good to see.
Very cool.
The younger kids.
Raise them right.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, so the void thing. It was void.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
I kind of lean to. How about you?
I'm a faith guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So faith and maiden and void and priest. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
We're not getting along here, man. The interview ended in a fight in a hotel room with two guys.
But like with that Void record and the artwork did a lot of just how records were designed in the hardcore scene and in the artwork. Did that appeal to you as a kid? Because it was something I really got into. And
as far as what you mean, the double?
Yeah, or just how like bands design, like how you guys did the Deep Wound thing. Like, at the time you're saying, we're just behind a husk, but like now that's like an iconic. If you see that, at least if you know the record, you're like, oh, that's the Deep Wound record.
Totally, I was totally into the art aspect of it.
Yeah.
Really, that's one thing. The Subhumans had really cool artwork. What was it? Rudimentary Peni, yeah. Is it Peni? Is it Penny? Penny Pasta.
Right.
That guy Nick, who did all the Mick Blinko.
Yeah.
All that pen and ink artwork was awesome.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, really cool. Yeah. That's what kind of informed my whole artistic, just doing that kind of drawing stuff, like the pointillism and stippling and those black and white line drawings.
I can definitely see that on here. Yeah.
It's kind of from that.
Yeah. Nice.
I mean, I do a little less like skulls and gore kind of stuff. It's almost more like nature based on the whole. It's just how it came out.
Yeah.
Maybe because the skull and gore thing wasn't really my thing. It's like it'd been done.
Right.
It's cool, but it's been done.
Yeah,
so I just do my own take on it. The art thing is definitely important.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of something people don't really think about when they think of, because there's the most important thing I think is the music.
The music. Yep.
And then the lyrics and just.
It's I think it's cool that some hardcore bands had cool, like interesting, like the logo, like the Raymond Pettibone Black Flag.
Yeah.
Logo that's like iconic.
Yeah,
the DK logo and some of that stuff is really cool. The metal bands always had like interesting, like the Motorhead logo and that bug snaggletooth thing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah, and it stayed with them the whole time. It's the Discord shirt. And
totally. It's the artwork is definitely important.
Yeah, people sort of don't talk about that as much.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That could be a whole.
I know.
Podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for doing this, man. This was definitely great.
Cool, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Hopefully we will see a Deep Wound.
At Al's 60th? Yeah.
At Al's 60th birthday.
Yeah.
But, awesome, Scott.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.